close. Yeah, guys. We have a very good question from Johnson. One that I definitely have some things to say about. What do you think is the difference between taking lessons or going to a music college? Um, you can learn a lot from just taking lessons. The trade-off for just doing that versus going to music school is that if you go to a music school, um, you're going to have to take a lot of classes and learn a lot of skills and be expected to do a lot of things that you maybe did not expect to do, which maybe makes you more well-rounded. And on top of that, in a music school, you're really kind of setting up aside a period of your life to just focus on one thing and really learn these skills and really learn what you need to know. And you also just have the whole community element of being around other musicians, other like-minded people who want the same thing as you do. And there's that sense of brotherhood there. And, I've learned a lot from my fellow students as well, or my fellow college students, as well as from the professors. The big trade-off is going to music school can be very expensive, and it's making an investment, but it's not necessarily an investment you're going to see a return on in the conventional sense. Like, I have a lot of friends who are still deep in debt from music school, and that's just going to kind of haunt them for the rest of your life. I got really lucky somehow. I went through music school debt-free. Like, music school is a great experience and a great environment to be in, but I'd almost say it's not worth it if you have to go in debt for that. Because, if you're resourceful, you can learn a lot without going to music school. And I know plenty of people who are great musicians and never went to music school. They just sort of figured out a way to seek out the information they wanted, which is kind of what you need anyway. Like, you can go to music school and not get anything out of the experience because you didn't have this mindset of trying to seek out the information you want and go to the right people. So music is a hobby for someone, then it's overkill to go to college. I think so, because you really don't need music school to become a good musician. You just have to be diligent. And the thing is, it's harder to focus on music if you're not in music school, because otherwise you have life going on. But music school, you're setting apart 4 years of your life or whatever to be like, okay, I am trying to learn this skill, and I'm glad I went. But no, I mean, if you study with people, study under a variety of people who are better than you and have the kind of skills that you're after, of like, oh yeah, I love this thing about this guy's playing, or from a pedagogical sense, like, oh, I know that this person is really good at explaining things and they know how to teach, because a lot of great players don't know how to teach. But if you kind of vary up your teaching your experience with that, and I've studied under a variety of great musicians and great educators, so I'm very lucky in that sense. But yeah, I do teach in person and remotely. I do Zoom lessons using the same exact setup here. But yeah, if you want to make a living out of it, then without going, if you want to make a living out of it, it's a little tougher because college also gives you connections, but depending on where you go, those connections may or may not be of any use. Like, you can also just, in whatever town you're in, whatever city you're in, just figure out where the music scene is. Where do the musicians play? Where do they hang out? And start to meet them. And if you can kind of find an environment that's sort of a jam session kind of vibe, where you're able to sit in, that is a great learning experience, because even before you're ready or confident enough to sit in, you can observe and watch and listen and see how these guys operate in this kind of setting where they don't know what's going to happen. And then once you do kind of muster up the confidence to go up and sit in, which I remember the first time I was scared to death, like sitting in on a jazz jam session. But once I did and started playing, I was just like, oh my God, this is what I want. This is what I've been waiting for. I've never felt anything like this. I want more. I was hooked instantly. But yeah, but then, after that, by going to a lot of jam sessions in Miami, where I was living at the time, like in high school, I was starting to learn about how to function in a band. I was sort of learning from things I tried that worked or didn't work. And yeah, it's just, you have to go through that. But that's what I'd recommend for like anybody who, like, whether or not you want to go to music school. Like, if you want a career in music, you have to be a part of the music community in whatever town you're living in. You have to meet the other musicians, figure out where they hang out there, and just sort of work your way in that way. Experience is the best teacher. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And some people are afraid of that. Some people are afraid of like failing in front of an audience, but it's actually a good thing. And nowhere else is this more the case than with stand-up comedians. Because the thing is, with music, you can lock yourself in a closet and shed and get better, and then bring a lot of new stuff the next time you play in front of people. But with stand-up comedy, you have to just write jokes and then go out in front of audiences, go to open mic nights, and just try them out, knowing that they might bomb. But that's the only way to get better. You start to look at bombing as a positive experience, a learning experience, rather than like, oh God, I told a joke and nobody laughed. Like, thankfully in music, there's never that kind of pressure, right? There's never that kind of pressure of like, oh, I'm going to sound bad. Like, if you sound bad, so what? Unless you're like in New York, where you will literally get kicked off the bandstand for sounding bad in a jam session, because there are normal people out there trying to enjoy music, and if you just go up there and play badly because you're trying to get better, it's not going to go over well. You have to work your way up to New York jam sessions, though. Like, and that's what I would say. Whichever way you're going to go about it, you need to be a part of the community and meet other musicians in the community, and use that as a growing experience. And then after a certain point, those musicians will be calling you for gigs. Even if they play the same instrument as you, they're always good to know, because you're never going to know when one of those guys is going to need a sub. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll be very surprised at what connections actually end up helping you in the long run. I've definitely had it where I've met musicians that I didn't know would be helpful to me, and they were, or vice versa. That's just kind of how it goes. But there are many ways of doing it. Whatever way you go about it, you just have to, figure out an approach that works for you.